You know, guys, if you're getting serious about improving your cross-picking skills, you're going to need to learn this excerpt from this classical piece from way back. Or should I say, way Bach. Well, hey there, kids, and welcome to a brand new installment of Weekend Wankshop. Here's your best buddy, Uncle Ben. You know, guys, I'm always getting comments and telepathic messages from you guys asking for some great ways that you can work on your cross-picking technique. One piece that I like to use to practice and warm up is this little excerpt from a CPE, that's Carl Felipe Emanuel Bach piece called Solfeggietto. I think I had one of those for lunch yesterday. This piece was originally written for piano, I think in the key of C minor. Today we'll be doing it in B minor, and it's kind of outlining a B minor F sharp 7, a chord progression, just kind of looping those two chords in a row. It features lots of arpeggio playing going across the strings and stuff. Really challenging and a perfect time for you to get used to this cross-picking technique. Let me tell you guys a little Uncle Ben story about this song. So the first time that I heard this piece, it was being played on piano by a girl that a really young Uncle Ben had a crush on. Now back then, in my little bowl-cutted brain, I thought that the coolest, hunkiest thing that I could have done would be to go home, learn how to play it on guitar, and then show back up and surprise her with a smoldering duet. But what I was surprised to find is that it is extremely difficult to play on guitar, especially when I was employing my kind of mixed alternate plus a little bit of sweep picking approach that I was utilizing back then. Long story short, I did not get this song down, and I did not get the chick, and I blame both of these things on my inability to cross-pick. Don't be like me, kids. So on today's lesson, I'm going to show you guys how to play this section of the tune and utilize some of those cross-picking powers. That way you don't make the same mistakes as me. Before we get into it, let's hear it again at step-dad speed. And as always, tabs for this lesson are available on my Instagram page at Ben Eller Guitar. Search for hashtag Weekend Wankshop 243. Find the tabs, learn how to play, then upload a video of yourself shredding through it, along with the hashtag Weekend Wankshop. And of course, downloadable tabs, bonus lessons, backing tracks, including the short little backing track I made at the first of this lesson, are available to my true believers over on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. I'll also be uploading a very special slow version of the backing track. That way you can practice along with it without going into full breakneck speed mode. Sign up today and start reaping the benefits lickety-split. These are your strings, this is your pick. Normal noob plebeian picking is kind of like this, and the difficult thing here is that the tip of your pick ends up caught in between two strings after every pick stroke, so changing strings is kind of a pain in the ass. Players like Yahweh Mouse Meat and Eric Johnson like to use downwards pick slanting as described in Troy Grady's Cracking the Code series. In order to solve half of that problem, their picking angle is more like this right here. As you can see, the upstroke is free of the strings, so it's easy to change strings after upstrokes or do consecutive downstrokes. A small percentage of players are upwards pick slanters, which solves the other half of the equation. Upwards pick slanting looks like this. You can see the downstrokes are free, so it's easy to change strings after downstrokes, but changing after ups is still really hard. Cross-picking is a picking technique used by Steve Morse and a lot of other players so that they can basically change strings after any pick stroke. Cross-picking kind of looks like this. As you can see, the upstrokes are free, the downstrokes are free, so you're free to move in any direction after any pick stroke if you master this technique. There is inherently a little bit of a trade-off as far as like maximum top speed goes, because making this kind of key turning motion will always be a little less efficient than just a straight line like what you use with the pick slanting approaches. But the great thing about cross picking is it means you'll be able to alternate pick your way through anything. Okay, so like I said, this is in the key of B minor, and it follows a B minor, F sharp 7 progression throughout the entire thing, mainly using some arpeggios and passing tones of those chords, which is really cool. And the entire thing is going to be alternate pick, so downstroke, upstroke, repeat, using that cross picking technique. It's kind of like turning a key in a lock. It's the closest thing I can think of. So let's break this down measure by measure. The first part here takes place over B minor, and it sounds like this. So what I'm doing there is I'm starting off here on the 5 on the A, down to the 2, back to the 5. Great way to establish tonality really quick here, because basically that's your root of B minor, and that's your flat third of B minor. So you're starting off with all these chord tones. You'll see this done all over this piece. So 5, 2, 5, then go here to the 2 on the low E. Again, anywhere that there's a root, there's a 5th right here on the next string, so you're playing the 5 of the chord right there. And then on the A string, play 2, 5, 4, 2. So most of that line is simply the B minor arpeggio with that one C sharp note added in for some extra color. Now the next section here is going to take place over F sharp, and it sounds like this. So what I did here is I started off here on the first A, that's your third. Again, if F sharp is the root, there's the third right there. So we're going to play that first fret A, second low E, back to that first A, fourth A. Then what you're going to do is roll that little finger down here onto the D string, fret number 4, 2, and then on the A string play 5 and 4. So that line is, again, the arpeggio is root, third, fifth, flat 7, root. So you can see how nicely he outlines that while still coloring it in with some more of those non-chord tones. Next line over B minor sounds like this. This is the first really challenging line to kind of cross pick right here, because you're going through like 3 or 4 consecutive strings. Now what we're going to do here is to play the 5 on the A, 2 on the A, back to 5, so pretty much just like how you started. Then you got to play the 4D, 4G, so a little finger roll right there, which we all hate doing. So now you have. Then go to the third B, second B, then the 4th on the G. Next line's over F sharp 7, sounds like this. More of a straight scalar run here. We're going to play the 2 on the B, which again is the 5th of the chord. And then you're going to play down the G string here. Play 4, 3, 1, 4 to 2 on the D, and then on the A string play 5 and 4. So far you should have the first line, second, third, fourth. The 5th line here is actually going to be exactly like the 3rd measure that we played. That B minor ascending thing. So this is 5, 2, 5 on the A, 4D, 4G, 3B, 2B, 4G. So just like the 3rd line. And then the next line over F sharp sounds like this. It's a cool line right here. Starting off here on the 3rd G, 4th D, 3rd G, 2nd B, 2nd high E, another finger roll right there, open high E, and then on the B string play 3 and 2. And again, that's mainly just outlining an F sharp 7 arpeggio. Now the next line right here is really challenging and requires a very certain set of fingerings. I tried to make this one work as many ways that I could without having some kind of like big nasty position shift. But what I ended up finding is that basically utilizing one open string note on the B is all the time you need to make this really huge hand position shift happen. It's a pain in the ass, but I couldn't find any other way to make it work. Maybe one of you brave weekend wankers will. But basically this line over B minor is going to be played like this. So we just came off of F sharp. So you're kind of here in the 2nd position, right? What you're going to do is to play the 3rd on the B with your middle finger, play the open B, and then you're going to play 3rd again, but this time with your 1st finger. So do you see how shifting from here to here, 2nd finger to 1st finger, brought us up a position? When we were here, we were in the 2nd position. When I did that, now I'm in the 3rd position, which means I'm closer to where I need to be in a second. So after you do With your little finger, reach up here and grab that 7th fret B, and then roll that little finger down onto the 7th high E. Okay, middle, first, little, little. Then you got a big shift right here. You just gotta jump for it. That's all you gotta do here. So with your little finger here, come up to the 10 on the high E, 9 on the high E, 7 on the high E. And that's that line. Again, watch the fingering. Middle, first, little, 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 ring, first. That's a line that I predict will give a lot of people trouble. It's really hard to play. So the last line that you're gonna play over F#7 sounds like this. Just another walk down the scale here. It's like a B melodic minor scale, which is kind of interesting. Gonna play the 9 and 7 on the E. On the B, play 11, 9, 7. And on the G, play 9, 7, 6. And then basically, in the original piece, it goes off from there and does a ton of other stuff. But for this lesson, what I did is then just started everything over. So after you do that walk down, you just make a jump down to all the stuff that we played earlier. I just kind of did it that way to make this more of like a short exercise rather than learning this mega huge classical piece. Some of the stuff later on becomes like impossible to. It sounds so sick though, so it's one of those things I would like to take on someday, but not today. So far you should have this. And then just start over. And then on the second time around, I just ended by resolving on the 9th fret D string, which is the B note, the root of B minor. So like I said, the entire time you're playing this should be alternate picking using that cross picking technique. It's not really a downwards pick slanting or an upwards pick slanting thing. Everything that I'm doing here is coming from that key turning motion of cross picking, which is what allows me to alternate pick my way through those arpeggios that most players would just sweep their way through. Like I said, during those early bowl cut days when I tried to learn how to play this, I was using a combination of some really weird alternate picking and sweeping. And I found especially like when you got to lines like, you know, it's really tempting to use some consecutive downstrokes right there and just sweep your way through that. But what I found is that the tempos that this song is at, like I'm playing it today at 115 BPM, the original's even faster than that. It's so hard to, you know, go from alternate picking, which has a steady metronomic kind of feel, to then breaking that rhythm to do a little bit of sweep picking and then get right back into the alternate stuff. I found it really difficult to do and stay on rhythm. Now, ultimately, is this more efficient than this? Yeah, absolutely. But there's just something to be said about the power of staying in motion and what that does to your rhythm, you know? They say in physics that a body that is in motion tends to stay in motion. I like to say in music that a body that's in rhythm tends to stay in rhythm. And when you're doing this and not breaking your stride to sweep for a little while and then take another break or whatever, I just find that your time is going to be even better than it would if you were sweep picking this stuff. One thing I'd encourage you guys to do is to add in some accents onto these. So in other words, instead of playing this completely monotone like this, I want you guys to really add in some emphasis with that pick on that first downstroke of every measure and go that just makes you even more metronomic in that right hand and makes it even easier to stay on time. And before you know it, you're going to be getting those classical music loving chicks in no time. Thank you guys as always for watching. You all can follow me on Instagram at Ben Eller Guitars, on Facebook at facebook.com/UncleBenEller. And of course, if you like what you see here on my channel and want to say thanks and get more cool stuff, be sure to drop me some support on my Patreon page, patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. Well, it's been fun as always, but it's time for you to put down the computer and go play some guitar. Less clicking, more picking.